Take it away.
Hey, beautiful humans. So, we didn't do last night's because the kid's birthday party ended up being the cake and everything that happened here, which went well into the night and probably the morning too. So,
yeah, there's a possibility it was there in the morning.
We've had a nice, relaxing family day of just chilling out and doing the things. On the motorbike too, that was fun.
Yeah, out on the bike, that was good fun.
Yeah, so we thought we'd get on tonight and cover the two subjects from yesterday and today. Day 26 topic is, are you a starter, a doer, or a finisher? And what does that even mean to you?
Yeah, again, I feel like a lot of this consistently comes back to the balance in life and being present, because everything is completely linked to that. If you have a balance, quite often we start things and you can go, yeah, if you've got a balanced life and you've got things all in a row, quite often you'll start, do, and finish everything. Then sometimes just with the side note that being present, while you're present, you can notice, and for myself, I quite often...
Sorry guys, turn off my volume, keep going.
Quite often while we start things, for me, I'll start something and I'm results driven, so I'll start, notice and see where I'm going as I'm doing it and putting the effort in. Notice the results, and if the results aren't what I desire them to be, have the opportunity to change it. Have a look at it and go, all right, let's take the data we've got here and go, all right, no, let's change it like this. That doesn't seem to be working. I specifically like, personally, to take things from start to finish. It's always a whole lot more satisfying, and when you do that, again, enjoying the process and the balance and the presence on the way is a lot more important than finishing all the results you're going to get. It makes a massive difference, but again, with the balance and the way that we do our life, it makes a difference to how you feel as you're doing it.
Agreed. When I looked at this question, for me, my whole life I've started millions of things, and I know many of you probably relate to that. Start a million things, and I would often not finish, and often I would get really critical of myself for doing that and not understanding why I did it and how it kind of came about and all that sort of stuff. But then I started to get into the world of epigenetics and really start to reflect upon the why I do the things I do. And what we now know is that dependent upon your genetics, a lot of us actually are pre-wired to do certain things. Does it make it right or wrong? Does it make it good or bad? Yes and no in all of the ways. But once you start to understand that you do have certain personas and behaviours, then it starts to become an awareness of you doing the thing and how you can support that, how you can be aware of it, how you can work around or with it. And so for myself, as an endomorph body, like Clint uses this perfect language of an ectomorph of, well, I like to just get things done. Like he's a starter and a finisher, because it makes no logical sense not to really do that. And for someone like you, you're very productive, very driven, very motivated. But there are a lot of us out there, like myself. I'm very driven and motivated. I've had a lot of friends of mine say over the years, you are ridiculous. But I do know there are times where I get overwhelmed, and me in overwhelm and out of flow is me trying to attempt all of the things to no avail. And the one thing I've learned a lot is, and the one thing I've grown peace with, and I hope a lot of you can relate to this, is that for me, my biology actually has lower serotonin, and is quite sensitive to dopamine and the reward hormones. And so my body naturally will, I'm just going to wave to you guys as you come in.
Hey, Kimmy.
Hey, Kimmy. So naturally, my body, if it sees a task, my body will go, okay, so this is the thing that's coming on, this is the amount of energy, time, and this is the reward I'm hoping or anticipating to get out of this. So then my body will naturally reserve energy for a certain outcome. It will hold mental, emotional, and physical capacity for the task at hand. And if I get to a certain point and my body physicality and emotions realizes that may actually not play out the way it's meant to, that will create an unsafe response for my biology, which will cause a fight or flight response. And my body could end up with inflamed joints. It can end up overwhelmed, high emotions, depression. I could end up in overwhelm and unsure of how to do things, procrastination. All of these things are actually signs for my biology that I'm out of flow and I'm overdoing things. Now, so I've also not finished a lot of things in my life. A lot of courses, a lot of work things. And we spoke about this actually came up on topic the other day about our inner critic of not being enough. I can also look back through my whole life and realize I've ended massive careers multiple times in my life because of my not enoughness. I actually sabotaged and talked myself out of these things and made myself not good enough. So the reward, and I used to judge myself for this, and it even says in my profile and yours, that people would be shocked as to how many times, I love you, Belinda, how many times I have pulled out of things because it got to a point where my own inner critic of I'm not enough sabotaged the chemical reaction and response that my body was having towards the outcome I was wanting. And that is basically saying that my biology went, oh shit, we're not going to get a return out of this, bail out, let's go find a new thing that will hopefully give you the reward. So my body doesn't produce a great amount of serotonin, and most endomorphic bodies, the bigger, more robust bodies, will have this same precondition. And many will get frustrated, and this is what I think needs to be bigger conversations for partnerships and families, is understanding the way your biology is pre-wired to work, so that, like for Clint, he can understand and go, oh, Shana's procrastinating or she's sabotaging herself right now, so she's feeling unsafe, she's sitting in the not enoughness. What can I do to support her, knowing that she may want to jump between things? What does she need for support? Where is she out of flow? And be aware and not be in that old blame, why don't you ever finish something? What's going on? This is stupid. Like those reactivities that we often will do not serve partnerships or relationships in any way. So when you can bring about conscious conversation and awareness, but also biological understanding and awareness for each party, you can understand these things. So I know that for Clint, there's sometimes my massive emotional overthinking, procrastinating brain may seem illogical to him. He'd be like, well, why would you do that? Which is magic, because I understand that he would have that response. He understands my response. So together we can support each other, but have an understanding of each other without comparison, blame, or anything like that, or any resentment. We have that knowledge. And I think that's a gift I'd love many to have.
There's a couple of points there that you made. First of all, it's quite simple, but I'll let you answer the question. Why do you get overwhelmed? You mentioned overwhelmed a fair bit. Why do you get overwhelmed?
I used to get overwhelmed because I would set my expectations too high, and I would create too much on my plate, which is, and I was out of flow and I'm not present, which is, and so many of you would probably relate to this, is this whole like from a childhood, and this is getting into psychology stuff, but as a child, all I wanted to do was make mummy and daddy proud. I wanted my daddy to think I was really great. So I would go and do all of the things and get overwhelmed and lost in trying to prove my worth to my parent, as most of us have all done. And that was my tactic. But if I then became successful, I was then letting down mum. Now this is getting into it. So if I made my dad too happy and proud, my mum would then react. So then I would go into the psychological sabotage and stop myself from actually achieving that, so that I kept both parents happy. I'd almost get there for my dad, but I wouldn't outshine anyone and have my mum react in any way. My child beliefs. Was it logic? Was it true? Probably not. But in my mind, that's the way it happened. So my people pleaser tried to come out at war, and it's been a lifelong thing of realising that I do that, because we all sabotage ourselves in some way.
Again, there's some really interesting points, and you answered the questions perfectly. The reason we get overwhelmed, we go around the circles. The reason we get overwhelmed is because we put too much noise in our head. It's very, very simple. You want to get the best results out of something, put 100% into anything. Doesn't matter what it is. You want to do the dishes properly, do it fully. Feel the detergent in your fingers. Feel it, take your time, slow down, and become present while you're doing it. You're going to get the best results. Doesn't matter what you're doing. The more present you are while you're doing anything, the better results you're going to get. So if we said this yesterday, you want to be the best in the world? Spend the time, do it presently, put the effort in, and you'll get the result. But don't do it for the results. Make the journey the result. Make that what you're after. Now, as supporting from a partner's perspective, quite often there's a lot of things we can't do. Essentially because your growth is not linear. It doesn't go like this, it doesn't go like this. It goes like a flow chart, like a stock chart. It's up and it's down, it's all over the place.
And many of us are bush bashers.
We are. And we do circles as we do in these conversations. The point with that is as for a partner's perspective, trying to help you out, the best thing I can do for you is say, none of this matters. Just take a deep breath, have a moment, let's go and do something. Or when I notice you being overwhelmed, go, you know what, I think we should just go for a walk. Stop this. That doesn't mean it's going to be any easier, or I can actually interject and help whatever you're doing. I mean, there's stuff that Shana does that's out of my pay grade. I'm not that smart for a lot of that sort of stuff. But my point there is, while you're doing this sort of stuff, doesn't matter what it is, even if it's something I know nothing about, I can see when you're overwhelmed. And the same as you can see for me. And we can go, all right, let's go for a walk. Let's go for lunch. Let's go do whatever we're doing and actually stop and reset.
And some might see that as a distraction, but it's not. It's creating presence.
Creating presence. And we used to do this when I was fighting. It was a big thing that was quite often. Stop, reset. You know, and it was very, very obvious when we're boxing. You jump in and you bang, 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 and you'd start getting messy. You'd start looking like a pub brawl, and our trainer would go, back up, reset, and you'd literally just take a step back, reshape back up, and move back in. Just that brief minute of stop, start. Now make it clear. You've got messy. You're losing what you're doing. You're just throwing hands now. Step back, make it clear, and then go in again. It's the same way, and I've had it happen multiple times throughout my life. And one of them, I was painting my house out in Dolby and sprayed the entire house out, like painted the entire house, the whole place, and it was, because everything was sealed up, I'd drop sheets over all the windows, the entire house started running. Like I just sanded the entire house, got everything ready, spent a week's work on it, and I put drips and runs through the entire house. So I lost my shit, I threw some paint around, I kicked it across the room, made a massive mess, as I do. Maybe I had a little tantrum on the floor at one stage, maybe. And then I went, you know what, fuck it, what's the point in this? No, I got the shits with it. So I do, as we should all do, good times in our life. I drove straight down the pub, got a counter meal and sunk a few beers. And while I was sitting there, my brother actually rang. And I said, fuck, he's talking to me on the phone. And he says, oh, what are you doing? I said, oh, I fucking had enough. So it just cost myself another week. Long story short, we're going through it and he goes, oh, well, if it's sealed up, and just from a different perspective and from that point of presence, now I've calmed down. Not that going to the pub's the best way to calm down, but I stepped away from it. Stepped away, stood back, had some food because I'd been running already for 10 hours that day.
So you were underfed, undernurtured, you were fully running over.
And out of balance and not present. And he says, so, well, the paint will still be wet because the whole house is sealed. There's no windows open, there's nothing, and it was a warm day. He said, why don't you just go on back roller? I said, what do you mean? He says, just put the roller on and just roll the whole house out. You'll have put some paint on it, so you're all good. I literally went through and the whole house was fixed in about an hour, because already with the paint was on the wall, it was neat, it was all done. I didn't have to dip the roller, I just had to roll over the whole house. But that point, literally of going, the world's coming into an end, this is what it's like in my head, I'm up here, I'm panicking, so I'm kicking things and making shit worse. I literally had 10 litres of paint all over the floor because I'm just fucking done with this now. Now I've stood back, whatever, don't care, I'm over it. I'll sort it out, and sometimes I take a moment to go, yep, I'm over it, like I did with that car. Well, you just have that step back, step away, become present, and the answers come to you when you're present.
Yeah. It's about creating presence. Every moral of the story is coming back to presence.
It's 100% coming back to presence and balance. And obviously your genetics is a massive big help to help you understand and know more. With the right information and knowledge, you can get the better results. So for me, when we look at this, are you a starter, a doer, or a finisher? All of us are all three of them. Every single one.
And it's circumstantial. And I think the other thing is remembering that who you were yesterday is not who you are today, and will not be who you are tomorrow.
You're not obliged to be the person you were 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. I'm going to keep waving. Everyone's going to come on.
You can wave from here too.
And so I think it's remembering that you're not the same person you were, and you won't be the same person tomorrow. But your judgment and your castration of yourself will do more damage than the task or the thing. So remembering that what you did or have done does not determine who you are, and whether or not you start, do, or finish a thing doesn't determine your success, doesn't determine your morals, doesn't determine your abilities, but it's more about creating awareness. Was it the wrong choice in the beginning? Did I invest time and energy into something that actually was from ego, from reaction, from trying to people please or prove your worth? Where was it coming from, and were you truly invested in it, and was it really the best choice for you? These are all the things. I think
there's a point there that you can go, how could I improve it next time, or to not do it again? That is disgusting.
We're growing penicillin in the fruit bowl.
You can just scrape that off and put it in a syringe. The point is, what I was going to say with that is, none of us have ever made a bad decision. None of us have. So they're not the wrong choices or the bad decisions. It's what you had to do. And whatever you've done in your life is actually been part of your growth to get to where you are. So regardless of what it is, it's not the wrong choice. It might not be something you'll want to do again, but it's part of your growth and part of the connection to exactly where you need to be in that point in time. So that's a really interesting perspective there, that doesn't matter what you've done. Even for me, losing my shit and throwing stuff, and I used to be the worst for it. And when I get frustrated and stressed, I would throw things. I'd kick the crap out of stuff. I'd do more damage. Absolutely throw tantrums. I'd break stuff, and I'd do more damage to everything I'm doing in that moment of stress and to my body, because stress is the worst thing that we can ever possibly have in our life. Now, all of those things that I've done throughout my life are great introspective moments for looking back and going, how toxic is that stress? How bad is that? To try and see what this actually is.
And some bodies, like your body is really, really good at maintaining stress. Like Clint's body is an endurance body, so it can actually hold that for a lot longer than most. A lot longer than most. But stress to his body and stress to my body will be two completely different things, and will create two very different reactions. And what stresses me out may not stress him out, and vice versa. So every human's different. So please remember that.
That's actually a very interesting concept, because there's a lot of stuff, and I constantly say to my children is, don't sweat the small stuff. The important thing to remember is everything is actually the small stuff. You can't influence the outcome anyway. This is the problem that we have in life, is we think we can influence the outcome. Yes, of course, if you're studying to become a school teacher, you're not going to be an engineer. So maybe you can influence it a little bit, but on the big scheme of things, the biggest thing you can impact is the way you feel in this moment. So feel better, do better, it's your choice.
Find the things that help you to feel better and feel your best, so you can be more present and more capable of doing the things and making the choices that support you. So I think to finish that conversation off, it might be that it doesn't matter where you are. I firmly believe, like, moving house is a great stressful time, but moving house can be one of those opportunities to throw away things. So if you have found things that you haven't finished, go find them and get them and go, does this really serve me? Does this really matter? What can I do from this? What do I want from this? And if you have negative emotions and feelings of it, and I have had to throw away emails, courses, logins, boxes, books, and things, because the energy of that stuck emotion of resentment and guilt will haunt you. So if there are things in your house and around your place that do that for you, that you hold any begrudgingness to yourself at the fact you've not done them, either do them, set a time and a date to do them, or get rid of them.
I think on that note as well, there's this 3 elements you need for conscious living. Non-resistance, non-attachment, and non-judgment.
Non-attachment, yeah.
So non-attachment, again, isn't about not owning stuff. We're all going to own stuff. We live in the 21st century, and in the Western world, we're all going to own stuff. Non-attachment's not about letting anything own you. So if you've got stuff, and I would look at it, that you really can't let go of in your house, you go through and there's still quite often things for emotions, and you go, oh geez, no, I could never let go of that. That's the thing you need to let go of the most, because it is owning you and it's taking control of your life. So when you have a look back on these things, there's so much stuff, and there's freedom, and there's freeing in getting rid of the things. I'm not telling you to get rid of things, but for me personally, I remember I came back from, maybe it was Thailand, and I went, what if I wanted to move there tomorrow? I have all of this stuff. And I had stuff that I had carried around for 20 years. And I went, oh yeah, that's that drawer. And I was sitting there one day and I went, well, I can't take that, and I'm not even using it. So I literally grabbed drawers out, didn't even look in it, and tipped the whole lot straight in the bin. I went through most of my stuff and dumped shit that I'd carried around for 20 years, and gee, still I feel free.
Yeah, it's a massive, amazing thing. But no, I just want to make sure we always slide that in there. This is a body that can do that. Some other bodies actually have biological entrapment, pretty much. Yeah. They literally can't let go of those things until they feel safe with their people,
until they feel
their
safe.
Friendships, their relationships, and their environment. Because some of us are genetically predispositioned to hoard and get stuck when we are out of balance.
There was an interesting topic on that. Eckhart Tolle was counselling a woman, and basically she had a ring that when she was getting older, it was her wedding ring, and she wasn't even wearing it because her knuckles were too big. And she basically blamed the cleaner for stealing it. She lost this ring and whatnot. She blamed the cleaner for stealing it. So our company said, well, we can't change the fact. Well, you can't go and say to her that, did you steal the ring? You know, she's been here caring for you, this, that, and the other. And he said, oh, how did she steal it? Like, if it wasn't on your finger. And she said, oh, it was in the cabinet. I haven't been able to wear it for 10 years. And he goes, you're dying. You know, this woman's dying. He says, you do realise that you can't take this with you. You can't actually take any of this with you. And she goes, oh, I know, but, you know, I really was attached to it. He said, that's great. But first of all, I want you to realise you can't take it with you. Secondly, so if you know you can't take it with you, is it just a matter of time? How much more time do you actually need with this ring before it's going to be okay for you to let go of it? How much more of this time? And he sort of went through, he says, because you don't have years. You actually don't have years left. You've actually got only this present moment. So the point was, and he went through it and said, so let's start having a look and going, you know what? If you can let go of it, the sooner you can actually go, think to yourself, not let it own me. The point was she had to let go, and he said, so let's start being realistic. Is your passing going to be a whole lot more smooth and calm if you're not thinking about this damn ring when you know, like I haven't even got my ring back. It's gone, whether it has or whether it hasn't. You're not taking it with you, so it's only a matter of the time that you have with it. It's actually, in a lot of these cases, just a memory that's associated with it, and that's why you're attached. Don't lose the memory. That's a simple part of that. But the way he explained that was really quite interesting. And then obviously, as when she passed, they found the ring anyway. But the point was that it was never stolen. It was developed in her head. It was actually just this complete attachment to it for a time that wasn't real anyway. So the object's permanent, but the feeling is actually what was interesting there. And I thought that was, for me, I found that really interesting. How much more time do you actually need with any of it? Because the truth is you don't have forever.
Hold on to your memories, but know that the stuff does not define any part of it.
Yeah. And now we've got off tangent. We did that again.
We've done another tangent. I hope that serves someone. Obviously, it always does. Okay, so are you a starter, finisher, or doer? I think we've kind of covered that.
I think we have.
The next one is, if you could have anything, what would it be and why? Please answer this.
Yeah, please answer this question and ask something. Think, because this was a hard one. Think something deep, and then also think something relatively shallow.
Yeah.
Like we sort of went, well, materialistically for me, I have nothing. There's nothing I actually want. Materialistically, there's things that we just end up getting, but it's not something that's going to change my life to have. Deeply, of course, there's things we want. You know, on the shallow level, I can go, geez, I really would love to be travelling right bloody now.
Yeah, I'd love to be travelling the world right now.
That's just, I would absolutely love to travel to China specifically. But nevertheless, that's me. On that sort of thing. But on a deeper note, to go deeper on any of this, as I said, materialistically, there's nothing. But on a deeper note, I would love to be a part in people's growth. Just that little bit more. I can't actually really influence because whatever's on someone's path is part of their growth, whether I'm there or not, but more to witness it, and it'd be really great to be able to, in some way, be someone's turning point, be something there where they can go, geez, that inspired, or that did this or that, not from ego, but I feel like we're all here for a greater purpose. And for me, I sort of look at it and go, there's a lot of things that we can and can't do, and realistically being able to inspire or help people on their growth, and by geez, I'm nowhere near there myself, I'm still trying to grow, but I feel like over Easter I just grow this way.
Because we keep trying to push the eggs to you. His body loves it. Anyway, so yeah, I think for me, like materialistically, I had a joke about this, and I was like, we're studying cars at the moment because we're going to buy a new car this week, but we're like, this one. We both love the Range Rovers, but they've got a really bad track record, and they're just not good cars. So as much as they are the sexiest large car we've looked at, it makes me sad. So that's my materialistic thing. It's like the never-ending paper of Tim Tams that don't make you fat, you know, that kind of thing. But on a more deeper level,
what I really want is to eat chocolate and not get fat.
I want to eat chocolate and not get fat. But on a more deeper level, for me it would be, if I could have anything right now, the ability to take on mass information and learnings without having to study so hard and so long. I'd love to have gone through my NLP course and have everything locked away immediately. So I think if I could have anything, it would be that, because then I'd be able to learn and do more. Like, I've got so many things that I would love, so many modalities I would love to add to my repertoire, because like you, I do want to impact people and I do want to have a massive presence in the world, because I know I have so much to share. And I love seeing that shift in someone when they come from this point of balance to coming back into flow, awareness, love, and compassion for themselves. So I would love that. I'd love to have a superpower of just mass learning and ability to utilize everything that I've learned immediately.
Well, I don't see why that's really out of the question. Reason I
if
say
you can train myself to do this, please do it.
There's that guy on YouTube that does the things.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, nevertheless, the reason I say this is evolution in humankind has changed exponentially in the last 2,000 years. We don't see this and we don't really think about it. The reason being is the written word isn't as old as you think.
True.
So before the written word, the only way of passing down knowledge was from storytelling from parents to this, to that, the other. Now, a lot of the time when you hear storytelling, you think back to what your grandparents told you. In 50 years from now, all of those stories are going to seem like myth.
Yeah.
Now, that's what happened a long time ago. A lot of this stuff sounded like myth because it didn't sound believable that these things actually happen until the written word, until there's documentation of it. Now, the only way to get this knowledge was from reading books, and we've had access to that a lot faster. Now we've got the internet. Now the evolution chain is actually speeding up. We're smarter, mentally, probably not so clever as we think we are, but book smart. We've become a whole lot book smarter than we ever were. I actually feel like we've had a mental decline. The way I look around the world at the moment, it seems like we're in a mental decline, but nevertheless, informationally, evolution has completely changed, and I feel like, particularly in the next coming years with the introduction of artificial intelligence and all those things, you're going to see a very interesting future race down to come. But long story short, it is very possible for you to have all of the knowledge that you possibly want. I think you've just got to go to the Garden of Eden and eat that fruit.
Ooh, we can do this.
So if anyone knows what the Garden of Eden is, actually put that on our wish list with the map and the aeroplane.
We'll go down that little wormhole really quickly. I had an epiphany the other day. I was riding to the gym and I was listening to an ebook I'm listening to at the moment, and ebook Audible, and they were talking about the Adam and Eve. Now, I'm not religious and I'm not against religion. I'm not for religion, but this story gave me an awareness. It was Adam and Eve, and it was this person depicting this story that they'd heard about how Eve misled Adam and blah blah blah. That's not the point. But it was that they'd taken the fruit of knowledge, and that they'd done the sin of receiving knowledge that they weren't allowed to have. Which I was like, it made me rage immediately, and I went, because honestly I never did any study, and if anyone's religious, this is not a dig at all. It was just an awareness from someone who is uneducated in this field. And I went, look at the world at the moment, and isn't it funny how so much hierarchy tries to take the simple human and control the knowledge at which we're given, and the ones that seek the truth outside of what has been depicted upon us are then made to be the sinner. And I went, holy shit, doesn't this just keep repeating itself?
Consistently.
Since the beginning of time, or the beginning of the written word, hasn't this repeated itself constantly? It was just this massive epiphany that almost knocked me off my bike while I was riding, and I was like, are you kidding? Because she was telling the story of Adam and Eve, and first off I was pissed at the fact of how they said the story, but secondly I was like, this just keeps happening.
Yeah, you know what, I've heard this scenario consistently with Adam and Eve as well, and so there's this blame game being passed here of, Eve led, or however it actually happened, and none of us are ever going to really know whether it's a real story. And I'm not for or against, I just choose not to believe either way. I don't think there's a need for it. Nevertheless, that's my feeling. But what was an interesting concept is, so there's this blame game there that's going, oh yes, well it was said it was this, and then somebody else said, I actually think God was to blame here. The reason being is, if we look at this logically, look, I'm not really that good on nature, but if we talk about in the middle of a bush in this absolute beautiful forest, thousands of trees everywhere, lots of food, lots of fruit, lots of all the things. If God never said anything about this tree, he probably would have never found it in the first place. So I think it was an interesting, just a different take on it. They said, so if God never said anything about it, then he actually tempted him with it. So it was kind of a little bit unfair, you know, for a primal being to tempt people in the first place.
Yeah, you're
not meant to start a fight. Not meant to start a fight, but just the way that was said, I was like, that's a really interesting concept. Because it's like the kids, if you said to a kid, don't touch the hot stove, don't touch this.
They're going like this straight away.
They probably wouldn't have ever noticed it.
Yeah.
So part of it's your responsibility anyway. And we should all...
Whatever's in your awareness, we often will start to process. And interestingly enough, when I did my NLP, they really, really opened our eyes to, with safety, we have so much signage out there. Do not do this, do not do this, slip hazard, do not slip, do not fall, do not trip, do not blah, blah, blah. Do you know that the brain of all humans does not process the word not? So when you read anything or are told anything that says do not do blah, do not think of a purple tree. You're now thinking of a purple tree of some kind, in some way, or a tree. Subjective. So understanding that our brain does not process the word not, yet God said do not have the fruit. Do not. So naturally their brain went, do the thing. And this is what we do with our children. This is what we do with our students. This is what we do at work. This is what we do in all of our instances. If we say do not, and expect the people and the thing to not do the thing.
Well, there's a whole lot of responsibility, and this is frustrating me with the world that we have today, is that no one wants to take responsibility for anything. This is why litigation's so high. This is why we have all of it. Own your part. Don't matter what it is. There is incidents. We've had this chat the other day while we were driving. Remember when they reduced the speed from 60 to 50 in local areas? Does this actually make any sense? Because I know I was in the fire brigade. There is no such thing as an accident anymore. They're all incidents because it's a chain of events that happen for one event to take place. Not making light of any victim. If someone's been hit by a car, yes, that's shit. Nevertheless, whether it's at 50 kilometres an hour or 60 kilometres an hour, if a kid runs out from a bin at that specific time and you don't see them, it was kind of meant to happen. Not meant to happen like that, but it was part of...
You could not do it.
You could not do it. So it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, 50 or 60 kilometres an hour, if you slept in past your alarm, wouldn't happen. If your parents didn't conceive you at that right time, it didn't happen. So there's this whole point of...
This is a massive conversation.
It definitely is.
Understand that everything is... We are at fault and we are at choice with everything that happens. You said it perfectly. Yes, people go, it's not my fault because blah.
You were there.
You were there. You
there.
made the choice
driving,
to be there in
breathing,
that moment. And whether that was sleeping in, whether that was brushing your teeth for too long, if that was having a poo for too long, whatever it is, you were in the car, in the vehicle, or doing your thing at that point in time.
It was Facebook.
You're in the car or making the decision. The chain of events led you to be in that position, and all of those chains of events were your decision because there is in some way, shape or form something that happened throughout your day that created that choice that you chose. So therefore, everything is a fault. So if we can look at everything from that position with love and compassion and own everything and know that you can also change things.
I notice that I get frustrated when people don't own their part in things. None of us want to, but you tripped. You were walking. You could have picked your feet up. And I remember years ago, someone tripped down the steps at the underground mine we had, and I think my old man was there, and they said, but you should do something about those stairs. I slipped down, and he goes, well, maybe you shouldn't be so clumsy. And just the way it was like, own your part. Pick your feet up. Do your part. Like, yeah, maybe they were a little bit slippery. Maybe you weren't walking properly. Maybe you weren't paying attention. Pay a little bit more respect or own your part in everything. And you're going to find that we're not placing the blame. We're not accusing others so much. You know what? I tripped up the stairs because I'm tired. Whatever else. Not that the stairs were made wrong. Not that we needed a warning label to say, pick your feet up to make sure you don't trip over the stairs that were made 3 mil out. We don't need this sort of stuff. This is mentally retarding the entire nation.
Yeah.
Use your brains and own your space, your energy, what you're doing, and your part in it. Yes, it would be shit.
The biggest thing we could do for our world moving forward is to stop this balderdash game of not taking responsibility.
Yeah.
right? So we're in this. If you wanted to have the biggest impact on the world right now, make a commitment to taking responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
Stop trying to find scapegoats and other people to take blame, because everything is your fault. Like everything is your fault.
But they're not scapegoats though, but they have escaped. All the goats have escaped now.
All the goats have escaped, people. There's no more scapegoats there for you to play with.
There's no more scapegoats, they escaped.
Stop.
Yeah, it's
trying to
broken.
find
They're
scapegoats, they're gone. It's time to take responsibility for everything, and I think that's the biggest impact we can have on the world, is this awareness that it is all your fault. You are at fault. So your choices, your time, your ability to be present and in love with every moment is so precious right now, because you are at fault from all the things. So if you are not in the positive and the negative all the time of every moment, you are only playing a small part of your own life. And you can take charge by having responsibility.
And by being present. If we spend a little bit more time present, just realise that if you don't have to achieve all the bullshit that's in your head. Get rid of it. Get rid of the stuff that's not serving you. Do less and you will achieve and you will have a better result in the moment. Who gives a shit if you don't get to the result at the end? If you're having a better and a more successful moment and a better experience now, well, that's all that matters. Because what if you only live to 30 seconds from now or till now? If you're having a better experience in this moment, I would just encourage everyone, I'm going to encourage myself to live more like we're doing it on purpose. If you take that spot there that you are actually living on purpose and own that every single thing you're doing is on purpose, you're going to actually make better quality decisions. You're going to spend your time better. If you go, you know what, I actually really want to be doing this right now. Well, don't waste time sitting out there doing whatever you're doing. Don't waste time just because that's the only thing you have. And we are essentially just burning it consistently. Moments disappearing.
That was a wonderful, wonderful divert. Slight detour. Hashtag slight detour, Kimmy.
Yeah, we have one of those. Also.
So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Tomorrow night there will be another one. We're almost at the end of the 30 days, so we're coming up with some concepts and conversations. And
we should, we'll have a couple of these. I think we could do like on the couch. See what time. We've got some friends coming over on the couch with Timmy.
Actually, I think we've got ice baths with Timmy tomorrow, so hopefully.
Yeah, remind him of that. Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have Timmy here again as well. So we love you guys so much and appreciate you all. And hope this has given you food for thought, or maybe I've triggered you. Maybe you want to have an opinion about these things, and we urge you to have those discussions, because if we're not communicating, conversing or debating things, we're not questioning. On a side
note, because quite often we do get triggered, or we do call this a discussion, or we do call it a debate. If we look at this as philosophical contemplation,
that was a bit delicious.
It's a much better feeling. That doesn't make me right or me wrong, or you right or you wrong. And the way to have a conscious conversation in a philosophical contemplation is to contemplate and go, I have been noticing and I feel this, and you can go, that's interesting. Tell me more.
Violent communication.
And rather than exploding back with a preloaded bullshit answer that's come from patterning or from your parents or from wherever it is, go, oh, that actually makes me feel like this. This is my stuff. Or I notice that when you say that, this comes up. Now, can you tell me more about that and why I'm so against that, or why it makes I'm interested, and ask deeper questions. Go deeper and get to the essence rather than just go, I can't believe you just said that. Red's my favourite colour. Why would you think blue's better? It's absolute nonsense. And if we can contemplate it rather than converse it, or contemplate it rather than debate it, we're going to lead to a better place.
Ask more questions.
My idea there.
Yeah. Ask better questions.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
I just did the wiggles thing.